All set.
All right, it's 5:03. This will call a meeting to order, the Bellingham Historical Commission for July. First of all, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for Marcia Crooks, who passed away
Oh my.
on July 3rd. And you know that we will remember her and keep her legacy going. Thank you. We've got the minutes of the previous meeting. Has everyone looked at it? Have any questions, comments, concerns?
I can't speak for Franco, but I have done nothing on that first point of working on a mission statement. Though I'm happy to report that there is no due date, so I didn't miss it.
Enough for you to hear.
I mean, I have something put together, but it's not exactly much.
So I think first we should get the minutes approved,
Yeah.
and then we can move to the discussion of
Yeah.
them.
Sorry.
Okay.
As you've seen the minutes, anybody have any questions on the minutes of the last meeting?
Need my pen.
I
Someone needs
move
to.
that we accept them as submitted.
A motion from Steve
Yeah.
to accept the minutes as submitted. Do I have a second?
I can.
All right, Franco, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Pam,
Unanimous.
Pam, you have been appointed? Have you been appointed officially?
I believe so, yeah. I got a
Okay.
letter, yeah.
You did get a letter. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So aye.
Okay, great.
Oh, cool. All right.
Welcome.
Welcome, Pam.
Thank you.
Excuse me, we have a new member. Who is she?
It's Pam Johnson, who is the editor of the Bellingham Bulletin.
Oh, fine, I'm in. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, now I know who she is.
Yeah, so, okay, now first item was the mission statement, and like I say, there is no deadline, Steve, so, I mean, there's no pressure on that. It's just something that we can, we can work on and get whenever we can put it together.
So Franco, what have you been working on with it? Just curious.
I had something kind of basic. Let me see if I can send it through chat here. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully this sends so everybody can read it. I think I did that.
Do you want me to just read it since it's there to everybody?
Sure, if you want.
Sure.
Want to read it aloud?
Yeah. The activities of the Bellingham Historical Commission encompass the upkeep of the Bellingham Museum, looking into places, events, and objects that relate to Bellingham, helping to preserve historical sites, and supporting educational activities as needed. The Commission may also acquire items that may have some relevance to town history if it has been deemed necessary to take in. Place potential contact info. Yeah, okay, then yeah, whatever the contact. So that's a good start. That's a really good start. I think that's for you and Steve to work on and take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I just wasn't sure about specific like contacts, information, whatnot. So
yeah, that's already up on the web. That's up on the town website. All our the contact information and the phone number. But I think that's and obviously we want the mission statement there. So I think what the best thing for you would be you and Steve to discuss it and then bring a proposal back to a future meeting.
Okay. So my question would be, would there be any preference about contact info specific to like items and stuff? Would be my sort of big.
Well, we have a generic email box now. It's history@bellinghamma.org. So people could contact the email or leave a message and then someone will get back to them. Right now, Steve is getting, anytime someone makes a phone call to the museum and leaves a message, Steve is getting an email notifying, and he has agreed to contact those, if there are any phone calls. So I think it's probably better to keep it generic, and then, whoever gets it will we can deal with it case by case basis, I think.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah. I just wasn't, like I said, I wasn't sure about specifically like, oh, hey, I have this item or what have you. So.
Okay. We all set on the mission statement? Anything else?
You know what? I would just make a suggestion that, Franco, maybe check out some other organizations' mission statements so that you can see.
I mean,
But
I did base this partly on the Franklin one, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see what the goal is and
Yeah,
what they included. And, yeah. Okay.
And I think the other thing we talked about was looking at what the Massachusetts, like what the charter that makes historical commissions says. There is something in there about what the goals and the, the mission of historical commission should be. So I think maybe we can I'll get this into the minutes, the draft, just that you presented, and then if everyone can maybe we can take a look at it and give Stephen and Franco feedback if there's something would like specifically to say about it.
Yeah, just.
Yeah,
So
'cause
Franco,
I've noticed in other historical commissions, and Bellingham wasn't one of them that had it, was that they were in charge of all like historical buildings too, and
Right.
any that would, they're supposed to be notified and whatnot. And I don't think that aspect of it Bellingham ever got involved in.
I
I
think
don't know.
Bellingham has knocked down every historic building that we've had.
Almost,
Not quite, but many
Not
of
quite.
them.
yeah,
no, we still got like the
town hall.
Yeah. Eldridge's house right in the center of town.
Yeah.
That was originally, I believe, a library or
It was a
post
library.
office.
It was someone's home that served as the library. So it was never actually a
Right.
town. I don't think it was ever actually owned by the town, but the town library was in the building. That was the first location of the town library.
Yeah,
It's in
all
rough shape
53
at the
books
Spear
are
House
stored.
in North Bellingham as well. That goes way back. That's probably late 18th century.
Is that the one that's across from like Bellingham House of Pizza?
No, it's across the street from Cumberland Farms in North Bellingham.
Cumberland. Okay, yeah, okay. Same side. It's same. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm
Oh,
thinking.
Steve, you're talking about the Curly House?
Well, it could be the Curly House, could be the Spear House, could be the Chamberlain House.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
but
Curly House.
most recently it was the Curly House.
Is that
yeah.
the one where the flowers were? The one where the flowers?
Actually, I think it's
Yes.
originally
Okay.
I think it's a Fairchild House.
Okay.
Fairchild, yep, was one of the owners of the mill, right?
Okay. So that's in great disrepair right now.
Yeah, and you got the governor's house there up on Hartford Avenue. He was a governor or something. I don't
I think
know.
that's the one
forget
I'm
his
thinking.
name.
The one I'm thinking-
The Metcalf House.
Metcalf House. That's the one I'm thinking
Set
of.
back off the road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one I'm thinking of.
That house has been well cared for.
Yeah, that one looks in good condition. Yeah,
Mhm.
from the exterior.
Now, I got a question for you guys. You go to other towns and you'll see a plaque on the outside of the house. It'll say historical and it'll have the date on it.
Mhm.
Is that something that we can do, or if we have all the information on it, or I don't know how that
Yeah.
comes about.
What I was told way back when by Muriel Laughlin was that you have to apply to the National Register of Historic Buildings.
Okay, yeah.
And if you've changed the exterior, like if you put siding on it, that's a big no-no. Because
Oh,
you've changed, so if you've made extensive changes, then you don't qualify. So
Okay.
that's what I was told way back when. If that's changed, I don't know, but that was the understanding that I had of it.
Now that you
There are
mentioned,
homes in Bellingham with those placards. There's one, there's a red house. It's hard to see it from the road, but it's on Hartford Avenue headed towards Mendon. It's red. It's kind of set back from the road, single story.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
somehow they got a placard.
Yeah, is it official or is it just someone put a date on there? That's that thing.
It looked pretty official.
Okay.
I suppose anybody could make a copy, but
Yeah.
it looked official, and I believe it was 1720.
You see a lot of signs on houses that say circa whatever,
Yeah.
and I think some of them are homemade.
Yeah. My cousin in Cranston, now that Pam mentioned it, that brought to mind, their house has got a plaque on the outside of it. And I remember my cousin's husband telling me that he couldn't put vinyl windows in. They had to be wood and all this other stuff. And
Yep.
well, he wound up putting the vinyl windows in. He says, unless the historical commission's gonna give me the money to put the wood windows in, he says it's not gonna happen,
Yeah, right.
you know, because it's like $3,000 difference.
Well, I mean, I think if you do it after you've already got the sign, I mean, I don't think they have police that go around and
Yeah.
check, so.
Right.
No, no,
That would be us, right?
yeah,
Allegedly, yeah.
allegedly, yeah.
That's something worth looking into, though, because that would be, you know, if there's an application process or whatever that is, I think that's something definitely worth looking into, because obviously it's some prestige to have an historic home.
And I can't see why we couldn't do our own if we don't get it from the national historic places in the state.
Right.
Bellingham we could do our own.
Right.
Mhm.
Mhm.
If we have the history, you know, go back, we have the history and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that's something to think about. We keep
Yeah.
rolling around in your minds for the future. See, creation of a policy
Yeah.
to update on inventory.
Yeah, so the collection policy, I finally found the agency that does the evaluation of collections. It's from the Massachusetts State Historical Records Advisory Program, and they run a program called the Roving Archivist. Basically, they will send an archivist out to your location and evaluate what you have and help you write that collection policy so you know what to collect. Unfortunately, they're not accepting applications because of COVID. So right now they're not doing it. They say they hope to resume in the fall. So once they resume, I will get an application in. But what it says is the roving archivist is a trained archival professional who is contracted by the State Historical Records Board through funding from the National Archives to provide leadership, advocacy, and guidance to help ensure identification, preservation, and use of the Commonwealth's historical resources, both public and private. The Markovis Program connects stewards of historical records with a trained professional to provide advice on policies, procedures, arrangements, and description of records, preservation planning, and emergency preparedness. So this is kind of exactly what, you know, a real archivist professional to help us get that together. So I think, well, as soon as the application is up, I will apply. I don't know how long it takes. And once I apply, I can reach out to the person. I know someone who's actually on their board, so I can get information from him. He's on the board of library commissioners as to what the timelines, you know, whether they're talking weeks, months, are we talking years before we, you know, how long's the waiting list? But I think it'd be best to get their guidance because they're professionals, and you know, we can do the best we can on inventory in the meantime. We can keep doing what we're doing, keeping track of what we have, you know, deciding what we think is worthwhile. But I say we don't get, you know, we hold on to things until we have someone professional come in to help us evaluate it.
Mm.
They've been sitting, this stuff's been sitting there this long, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
how long is it going to hurt?
It sounds like it's going to be time consuming to, you know, to do that. So
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I think if they can help us make a policy, then we can evaluate the items based on the policy, which is, you know, which will make it a little bit easier to go through what we have.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as inventory, Rick and I are going to meet with Margaret at the museum on Wednesday to go through what she has so far and talk about what the next steps are with the inventory. She's basically making a spreadsheet. Margaret, do you want to talk about what you've been working on, just so people know what you've been doing?
Well, I did an Excel spreadsheet of all of the inventory notes and books that I could find up there. It's certainly not anywhere near the whole collection, but part of it is there for us to access. We'll talk more about it on Wednesday. I do have lists in my computer of files that are in file folders. Like there's what's called a Bruce Lord collection. And I did that quite a while ago, but it's only in Word. It's not in Excel. So we can look at that and see if you want that transferred to something else.
I think at this point it might be good just to take what we have and wait until we get this, you know, but not spend time doing things that might not be something we need down the road, you know?
Good.
So I think we can see what we have and then see where we need to go.
That's the kind of thing that we need to do, because what I ran into so much was that people must have started inventories at various times through the years because there were so many duplicates, you know, that it's a very big process. So they probably got so far and then put it on the back shelf and
I mean,
someone picked it up and started from the beginning again.
I could see this being something that, maybe like in January when the weather's bad, we all get together on a Saturday and just go to the museum and work as a group on getting, trying to get some kind of consensus on it or something, and really try to
And
tackle it.
identify where these items actually are in the museum.
Right. Yeah. So while we're talking about that, after I sent out the meeting notes, I sent a note to Dennis Frayne to ask him to update us on, because earlier in the spring, he had told us they were talking about doing some minor renovations at the museum over the summer, recarpeting and maybe painting the museum. So I asked him if he could join us for the meeting, and he couldn't join us tonight. He had another commitment, but he's going to meet us at Rick and I at the museum on Wednesday with the town carpenter who runs those projects to talk about what the potential is. He basically said carpeting and painting. So, and he said the carpenter's behind because of COVID on a lot of projects, so it might not be over the summer, but he wants to talk to us about what the plan is and then help get our input. So I think if we can get input from you guys, we can bring it back to the August meeting and then discuss, do we meet for carpet samples? I don't know, do we give someone the authority to just do it, or do we have a consensus of what we want, like what color do we want the walls to be? All those decisions that will need to be made.
Also, we have to consider getting a group of kids or whatever to help us move a lot of that stuff around.
I think what Dennis said is the Parks Department kids will help us move it. Because they have kids
right?
that work. They have kids that work for the Parks Department over the summer. That I think he said. Because my perception was a great thing to do would be to move the smaller things downstairs for now, and then if they carpet one side of the museum, move everything to one side, then move it back, and then we can bring things up after it's painted and carpeted and try to make reorganize what we want upstairs after the renovation is done.
Yeah, I suggest that some photos be taken before the stuff gets moved, just in case we find some document that gives context. Because I know I saw a lot of stuff in there and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that's probably a good idea, is to take detailed photographs of each area so we know. That's a really good idea. So we know where things were originally. Not that we have to put everything back in its original spot, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I was just concerned there might be some context, like this piece was put next to this piece because they were part of a thing.
Right.
And we don't know that, so we. Right,
and that's written down somewhere else, and we find it 3 years from now, and we don't know what those things are. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, either a video or photographs of each area would be a good idea. Absolutely.
Definitely, and also when we talk on Wednesday with Ronnie Paulus, if it's going to be pushed into the fall, he's not going to have the help in the Parks Department like he's got now, the summer help. So we may have to look elsewhere for help.
Well, I've got myself and a 12-year-old.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like maybe we could reach out to some Boy Scout groups or something. I'm sure we could get people to help us. And we're not going to move anything super heavy, I don't think, because the super heavy stuff we're just going to push across the room. I can't see.
Yeah.
They're too big. Those display cases are too big to bring in. They just got to be moved. They can't be, So, but it'll be I think it'll be a nice facelift.
Yeah.
So.
Then we can have them work on getting the thing from the state, I believe. Not the state. It's to update the lighting in there.
Yeah.
Because they do what National Grid will come in and change everything.
Yeah.
And update the lighting. So
that's just a matter of getting the Mass Save people to come out and do the evaluation. Yeah.
Buzz Dennis's ear about that.
Yeah.
But okay, is that anybody got anything else on the inventory thing, or before we move on? No. Crimfield comments mailing list update.
So Rick, you can tell everyone what you did, because that was amazing.
Well, it's not amazing. What it was is Bernadette gave me the things, and she says, you want to put the stickers, the return addresses on the envelopes, and and then somebody else can put on the addresses or whatever. And I said, no, just give me the whole thing. I'll do it myself. I started on Friday, and by Saturday at 10 a.m., I had 348 envelopes stuffed, stuck,
And stamped. Well, no, they weren't stamped by you. Yeah, the town ran them through the meter to mail them. Yeah.
And I didn't have to lick them, so that's the good part.
I bought envelopes that didn't need licking just because I knew I didn't want to lick them, so I figured I wouldn't want someone else to have to lick them.
Yeah. So so I got them all set and gave them to Bernadette when she got back.
Yeah. They were mailed. So I've got a dozen or so people that replied by email. 2 people have returned the postcards with their information. 11 came back as undeliverable, or they didn't know where they went. And we have a lot of people that didn't respond at all. Now, the responses said by September 1st, so some of them might trickle in. My idea is when we do the fall Crimfield comments, we ought to just put the content of that postcard one more time. So we still mail it out to the updated list, whatever it looks like, and then put one more. Pam?
Why don't you write a short press release that we could put in the bulletin too? That if you got a postcard, if you want to keep getting the Crimfield comment.
Just a reminder for those of you who received the postcard, because a lot of them were local, Rick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There were a lot in Milford, a lot in Bellingham and Mendon, but they stretched as far as Australia.
Really?
There were a lot of Florida ones too. I think a lot of people retired to Florida.
A lot of Florida.
We had at least one Australia and one England somewhere. So.
Yeah.
The one in Australia is a descendant of Governor Bellingham.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think we ought to give.
It goes to England
Yeah,
I think it's the Bellingham House or something like that that honors Governor Bellingham.
I don't think we should delete these people for not replying. I think we ought to give them one more chance to send them the next issue, and then have a little scissors that they can cut out and mail it back to us if they want to continue receiving it.
Who knows? We might hear from them if they don't get it. So
right, and then we could add them back in. And that's if we do cut people out and they say they didn't get it yet, then we add them back in. So there's no harm in doing that. I don't think.
No. There was some that didn't print out on the address for the address labels. It was like incomplete. Okay. So those, and it was only about 5, that were incomplete that I couldn't send anywhere because the address wasn't there.
Okay, yeah.
But out of 340, that's not too bad, having 4 or 5.
So I will update that Excel sheet with the changes I get. But I want to wait till I'm just saving them all now, and I'll do it on September 1st once the deadline kind of goes by, and then we'll have a new list for whenever we do the fall issue. I don't know if we want to vote on this at this meeting, but I'm proposing that we use Constant Contact to create an electronic newsletter. Because what we could do with the electronic newsletter is we could just do, promote, if we have programs come up, we could promote things and then just include in it a link to the electronic version of the Crimfield comments that could be on the town's website somewhere. So it would just be a PDF link to that newsletter. And people that still want to get it in print will get it in print, but we could, do a newsletter quarterly that just tells people what, highlights of what they want to know, and then link to the Crimfield comments. We could do a newsletter if Steve, you have 29 people signed up for your program next week right now. Excellent. So, if we start doing these programs, we could promote them in a newsletter, let people know. And with Constant Contact, you could do it. It could start out quarterly, but you could send out an email notice to people whenever. If you book a program, we could notify everyone on our email list that there's something coming up at the museum, click here to register or whatever. So, it's not something we need right away. It'll be about $400 per year for up to 2,500 people. And you could email them as often as you want. So it's a pretty good deal, as opposed to spending, for $400, you get 800, you can mail 800 things. This you could mail to up to 2,500 people as many times as you want over the course of the year. And as a secretary, I would be more than willing to be the editor of the newsletter. I need content from people, but I'm happy to put it together.
Great. That's great, because I understand what you're saying, but I have no clue how to do any of that stuff.
I mean, most of you probably get newsletters from organizations or things you belong to, and they're on your email, and you click on links in them, and they take you places.
Yep.
It's not that difficult to do. I do one for the library every month, so quarterly would not be a big deal. And even just an email saying, when we had our program, just sending out saying, hey, this is going on at the museum, would love to see you, would love you to participate. And growing, the other thing you could do is on our website, we could actually have a place where people could sign up to enroll in the electronic newsletter. So you could give them a link right on the website to say, if you want to be part of this. Just like the town has people sign up for, you know, emails from the Board of Health, or email from whatever. It's just, and they would get our communication that way.
Oh, that sounds good.
We do have a $4,500 a year budget. That's what the museum's budget is. And from what I understand, and historically it's been used to print and mail the Grimville comments. That's basically what the budget has been used for in the past. We were able to get all of the mailing that we did under last year's money that we hadn't spent. So we have a fresh $4,500 to start this year with.
Well, that's good. I'm sure we'll put it to good use. That's for sure. Well, now we're on the subject of that, the fall Grimville comments planning.
So I guess, do we want to set a goal for a date for distribution and then talk about what kind of content we think? Is there a theme we want to do? Is there a?
I don't know. I think Steve's presentation that he's going to do this month would, if we could highlight it in the fall, because not everybody's going to jump on and watch it, but just kind of like let everybody know that this did happen, and we're going to continue programs.
The other thing that we could do with Steve's permission is we could record it, and then we could start a YouTube channel, and we could, you know, have our stuff that we're doing just there for posterity. But that depends on the presenters being willing to do that.
Well, we can record it and see how it goes. I want to have final veto on that because I've never done it this way before.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, we can record it, and you can, and I'm not great at editing video, so that's not my thing, but Pam?
Well, as far as the written word, Marjorie's going to be covering that for the bulletin, so there would be an article available if you want to use it.
An article, an article for
on
the
the
bulletin,
program.
On the program that we could put, you could use it for the Grimville comments. Okay, that'd be great. Marjorie's,
I mean, in terms of prints for the Grimville comments, if push comes to shove, we might be able to get some of the older stuff from the older comments and maybe repost that. I know that it didn't brought up beforehand as maybe recycling some of the older stuff. But
and another thing that we could do is, because we have a relatively new board, we could meet the board members and just do a little bio of the commissioners, you know, of us, to let the community know who's you know,
who's on the board,
who's running things now.
Well, no, there's this newsletter. This is our new newsletter. Here are our new members, and this is what, you know.
That's good.
I think that might be a little bit of content that we could add for, not necessarily for maybe not even for the comments, but even for just the newsletter part of the comments. I don't know. I think there's two different things. Is the mission of the Grimville comments to tell history stories about Bellingham? I think it is. It's to, or rather, I don't know. You know, what do we want the scope of the Grimville comments to be, and what historically has it been?
And the current events that are happening within the commission.
Right.
You know, we can broaden this.
Right.
Certainly any, dig up, photographs of old artifacts, if there's any local history. And I know the board that was there before us, for a long time, they would throw in seemingly random, historical poetry and stuff. I didn't quite catch the connection to Bellingham every time, but it was entertaining at least.
So I guess I don't know, do we need a subcommittee to work on the Grimville comments scope? Because if we're just meeting once a month, that's not enough time to really pull it together. I mean, and we could wait as late as November to distribute. I think we can give ourselves plenty of time because,
Yeah.
you know, it's our first time doing this. So,
Well, I mean, so how much real estate do we have to fill up? And I'm assuming, you know, one person or a couple of people should probably be responsible for assembling
right.
the thing. You know what I mean? Just formatting it, which I don't know anything about that. I'm happy to contribute written content, but as far as sort of formatting and stuff, that's not my forte.
I think that's the way to do it. Have people submit content and someone is the editor. And I'm pretty good at using Publisher, and the Publisher has some pretty good newsletter, you know, to make a PDF newsletter. That's pretty easy. I can, you know, I can do that. I don't know, Pam, do you know something better for newsletter software?
Well, I mean, I use InDesign and
Yeah.
create PDFs with that.
Right, yeah.
That's what I use for the
There's
bulletin.
templates in
Oh yeah,
Publisher
newsletter
for
templates.
newsletter templates that are pretty, you know, I could take the current banner of the Crimfield comments.
Yep.
I think it needs some cleaning up because it's the quality of some of the images are kind of, I think they've been copied in numerous times, but make a banner like looking like the current, you know, the look of the current thing, but with kind of modernize it a little bit. And
Yeah,
I could just,
update it.
I mean, I could do that before the next meeting and get a draft, just a template, so you know what I think the thing would look like. Historically, Margaret, what, 16 pages is what you said it was historically? Is that correct?
Currently, that's what it is.
Right,
And as far as I know, in the past few years, it's been 16 pages.
Yeah.
But we do have copies that are not that extensive from years past. So I think it grew into the 16 pages.
I think that's, I mean, I think it doesn't have to be the same number of pages every issue. If we have, you know, obviously you need an even number to make it, you know.
Actually, it would change in increments of 8 because they're probably taking an 11 by 17 sheet
Okay.
of paper.
Okay. Right, so it would either be 8,
Oh, no, 1, 2,
fours.
4 in fours, increments of 4, yeah.
Right. So it'd be 4, 8, 12, or 16 pages, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, who put together the Crimfield comments last year and in the past that did the editing and putting it all together? Was that done by the company that did that printed it?
Now, Marcia and I did all of that ourselves and brought it to the printer. But they didn't change anything.
Yeah, right.
They didn't change it, no.
No.
Okay.
And that was it printed by the high school? Is that who was printing it?
Not recently,
Okay.
no. It was printed over in Franklin.
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we had just switched over to the Franklin one because the owner of the previous printer passed away, so they weren't. What did we get lost in translation, Margaret? Do you remember, or was it something else?
It's always been in Franklin since I've been there.
Okay.
I've only been there, I think, 3 years, but
And I mean,
I have
realistically, as we move this, we probably will need less printed copies, I think, as more people subscribe electronically.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure out how many we really do need to print, you know, Margaret, you mentioned something about the schools using them, so we need to find out who that contact person is to find out how many they need, or would electronic be suitable for them? I don't know.
well, the school's always got a certain number to each school, but the third grade, each class and each child in those classes in third grade got their own copy.
Because the schools do a thing where they actually send electronic things home to kids in, like, they call it electronic backpack. And if that's the case, if they're getting other electronic things, so I think we need to find out who the school contact is to manage that, find out how they would prefer to get it.
It was my understanding that third grade each got their own because they taught Bellingham
Okay.
history in that
Okay.
grade.
Okay. So that's
But that's something you could check.
Right.
I don't
I mean, I know we would definitely want some copies here at the library because people do pick them up here. I think the senior center has some, the town hall, you know, would want to
Yeah.
a number and figure out what
There's
that
a-
number is. And I think the
There's
other
a
thing is,
list up there, tells you who gets them and how many copies.
right. And I think we look back, because I know we are recycling some here that don't move. So find out how many of them are actually being distributed or used, and then, you know,
Right.
realistically print what what we need to print, because the printing obviously costs money. If we can save our money for other projects instead of things that end up being recycled, that would be.
Right.
I know for myself, I've been getting the Crimflow comments from my parish. So St. Brennan's, you know, they just have them in the foyer and I
Okay.
grab some. So that's, I don't know what other institutions, churches get them, but it is valuable. I think that's a place to get it, users that wouldn't necessarily sign up.
Right. I think and I think figuring out how many they really need and how many they're not using is an important part of it too. It's a good time to reevaluate all of those things.
Yeah. So.
So I'll work on getting a draft.
Yeah.
So we have for the next meeting, so you guys can see what I'm thinking of as far as layout, and then we can talk a little more about that. I guess everyone should just think about what kind of content we might want to consider for the fall issue.
Right, and you know, it's kind of tough too, is that we're not really in the museum either.
Yeah.
So to actually go through the stuff and see what we want to put in it, it's going to be tough. So, like I said, we got time to think about it, and like you said, and come up with a refreshed.
You know, maybe if we do it in November, we could have a veterans issue or something. If we aim to publish it in this November, we could do something for Veterans Day.
Yeah, there's some pretty spiffy uniforms in there.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
You know,
it's a good idea. Yeah.
And I don't know, there's, you know, some veteran stories and whatever, forget. Okay, so I think that we got a little bit of a plan there.
All right. Next is update on the preservation of the 1930 fire engine. Well, I don't have anything new for you on that. Being the summer, most everybody is doing some type of vacation, you know, and to nail down a plan of what they're doing. And I just got the email from Bernadette on, was it Nichols? Dave Nichols, was that his name? That he's with the antique fire trucks.
Oh yeah, so we found an organization called like the Antique Fire Truck Restoration something. It's a group of Massachusetts people that this is what they do. So I sent Rick the contact information.
Yeah, I'm going to I've already sent an email to the one that's in Massachusetts and never heard from them, but I'm going to get a hold of Dave Nichols, I think was his name.
He was in the session that we did last week.
One. Yeah. It was a different organization within Massachusetts, and I'll see what that's all about. But we do have some energetic people that town grew up here in town that want to restore it, and I got to give kudos to Matt Clark and his brother, and because they're giving us the space, they're giving us the place to work on it. He does restoring of vehicles. He's got 4, 5, 6 vehicles he's completely restored. And also Mike Marsette's brother, who's excellent body man and whatnot. I put them together, and hopefully they can give us some type of an idea, and then we can also look for funding through the state if we can get anything on for rehabilitation of, you know, an antique like that, if there's any types of grants, which Bernadette's going to check on anyway. And so if we can throw money their way, because I know some of them, they're going to put their own money into it too. But I think we're going to have the fire truck fully restored and looking good within a year from the way it sounds. So that's about all I have on that.
Do we have a place where it's going to be stored yet, or is that still up in the air?
Well, permanently, not really, but as long as Matt Clark, he owns 2 or 3 buildings up on Williams Way, and he's got this big, huge building that he offered, and a couple weeks ago we moved it up there. And it's a heated garage rather than a leaky roof with no heat, which was Pearl Street. This isn't a heated garage. So yeah, what we do is going to be important, what we do, but we're also not under a deadline that it's going to rot under our feet if we don't do something. So it's quite secured right now. So for now, that's going to be its home. And he says anytime you know, we wanted to go in and look at it or whatever. He asked me if I wanted a key, and I said, I don't want the responsibility. He's got way too many expensive cars in there, and I don't want to have a key to that. So,
Is this Matt Clark related to Billy Clark, the late Billy Clark, who had the car place on 140?
no, this is Tommy Clark's son that built the plazas in the center of town.
Oh, okay.
Evergreen Construction and stuff. Yeah, him and his brother run Green Site Services now, and they're statewide.
All right.
Now we wanted to talk again on that RS mile marker preservation and promotion or rehab. You know, the one, Bob, you had mentioned that was in front of St. Brendan's or the house next to it.
Yeah, there's some controversy about the exact placement of it, but the controversy is not not so bad. That the distance is not very many feet.
Yeah.
So it was either in the wall in front of St. Brendan's, or it was in the wall in front of the house next door to it, which is the Pelatiah Smith house, which was a stagecoach stop and inn, and Pelatiah Smith's mansion house. And you can see where the house and the tavern were joined. So at any rate, and the stone right now, as I guess we all know, is in the library, in the museum.
Yeah.
And it has been damaged. It's a slate thing, and it's I've been doing a little bit of research on it, and there seems to be products out there that might be able to remove what I think is paint. Somebody tried to make the date stand out a little bit better, and they painted it and made a terrible mess of it, and only one character got smeared with paint. I think the thing is rather valuable, and I think that not a lot of people know it exists. I'm all over it as far as the need to restore it, and my idea is to get that paint off of there somehow, to have a replica made of the stone in its slate stage, and then put back in the location where we think it was, and then the real stone moved, or either kept in the museum in a prominent place or moved into another prominent building like the new town hall, the administration building, or whatever they're calling it. I can't remember. Municipal building.
Municipal
Center.
Yeah. So if you know anything about the history in Ireland, but the country is flooded with Irish high crosses, and they were of extreme value in history, and the Irish government has taken over and made replicas of the Irish high crosses and around the most important ones, and they moved all of the originals into museums so that they were protected. And I see that as a reasonable way of keeping that thing safe. It was in the 275th anniversary of the town, which took place in 1969. We had just moved into town, but the Franklin Brothers of the Brush, who were organizing their own centennial, bicentennial, whatever it was, stole the stone. They come over here one night and dug it up and moved it. And that was, they stole it to be a joke, because they thought it would make people really outraged. And I don't know if that ever happened, but the stone was stone. They brought it back, and then it was placed in various spots. Excuse me, in front of St. Brendan's Church. At one point, it was put right up against the stone, this concrete wall. Then it was moved to once we built the parking lot. It was moved to the center of the exit island there, the entrance exit island in and out of the parking lot, and that was its home for a while. And then Ernie Taft was a very good friend of mine. I went to him and said, Ernie, we need to protect this, and so we need to put it in a better spot. And he said, well, they did it around where they would move. So then they moved it up in front of North School, and the reason they moved it up in front of North School was because during a snowstorm, there was an accident right in front of St. Brendan's parking lot. And the truck that was, one of the trucks, the vehicles that was in the accident, landed about 1.5 inches away from the stone, and down there smashed it up, and it would have been a, just a pile of rocks. So that's when we moved it to the north building. And a couple of years went by, and I said to Ernie, I says, we got to get it in the museum. And get it in the museum, and they did. Now, I don't know when it was, as I said, what I think is paint on there. I don't know when that was done. I don't know when the damage was done to the stone, but that needs to be cleaned, it needs to be restored. Maybe we can contact somebody who was used to dealing with restoration of headstones in cemeteries, because that's basically what it is. It's a slate cemetery stone that was carved. And
I have a friend that owns Ackerman Monuments that I could talk to him about, what it might take to repair that one and to create a replica.
Yeah. Where are they?
Holliston on Route 16.
Oh, I know exactly where they're at. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go about finding the money. How much is it going to cost us finding the money to get it fixed?
Mm-hmm.
But it's too valuable to be hiding away from the third graders who don't have any clue of what it is or how it was done or why it was done. There is some controversy about whether or not Benjamin Franklin actually put out those markers. There are 3 post roads from Boston to Hartford, Connecticut. There's the upper one that runs through Sudbury. There's the lower one and we're on the middle road. And that road still exists, and that was how you got from Boston to Hartford, and that's why that inn was there, and a stage stop. And I'd like to get in that building, to be honest with you, but now it's a rabbit warren of apartments up there. Anyway, I think
the second stop on the post road. The building I'm in front of right here, picture, is the Peak House, which is adjacent to the Clark one, which was the first stop on the post road, the middle run anyway.
And in Medfield, your building behind you, is that in Medfield?
Yes. Yep. This is the Peak House, but adjacent.
I've been trying to place it up. I've been trying to figure out what building it was all night long. It's been driving me nuts. And I was thinking, that building's not in Franklin. I don't think so. I know one that's close to that. So anyway, so at least we get it on the, into the pile of agenda items.
Yeah.
And I'd like to, work with you, Steve, and put some stuff together and figure out what's going on with that.
Yeah, I think the first step would be to get them out to look at it, or somehow get the information to them so they could give us an
Yeah.
estimate on repair estimate
Yeah.
and replica estimate to see if it's in the
Yeah.
budget or if it's something that we'd have to figure out how to pay for.
It may not be as much money as one would think. You
Mm.
know, I don't know how much it is to carve a slate's headstone anymore. They don't do that very much. So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well, if you want to, you and Steve want to get together and research that, you know,
Yeah.
that's,
I'll do that.
That's
Steve, I'll give you a phone call.
Sure.
yeah, you can research it and get back to us at another meeting and how you made out. Next on the agenda was the replacement and refurbish of the museum sign. Let me give you a little background on that. We were talking, Bernadette and I talked about it, and it's the one that says Ernie Taft and all the letters are falling off on it on the side of the museum. Well, we were talking and get your opinion on it, but we thought it would be better to wait to do something on that because the town is going to widen the center of town. That's why the town bought Domino's Pizza. So that's coming out. Domino's Pizza's coming out. And that nice new little park they built, part of that's coming out.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the design is going to look like.
I thought it was being expanded. I thought they were going to expand the park into, the road's got to be widened to some degree, but they're expanding
Yeah.
the park into that other space.
I believe there's a stake there in the lawn. But yeah, the Domino's, where Domino's is sitting now, it's all asphalt all the way around it and everything, and then the museum is right behind it. Well, that's not going to be there anymore, so we're going to wind up with more grass. There'll be more lawn around the museum. In fact, the museum will be a little bit more out there. And then once that's done and been reconfigured, we can figure out, to change the sign, maybe move it and have it face a different direction than what it's doing right now. So that was basically the discussion on that for the replacement and refurbish of the sign, because I was talking with Ernie Taft's sister. I keep forgetting her first name, but
Joanne.
Joanne Arcan, yes. And they reminded me, about how it's in disrepair, the sign is in disrepair. And I told her, I said, yes, I'm aware of that. And I said, we're definitely we're going to address it. But then when we brought up the fact of how they're going to widen the center of town and everything, it would be better to wait and see how it's going to be configured so we can redo the sign and maybe change its location as how it's facing.
If you could make it so it was visible for people driving through, that would be way better than having it on the front and the back of a building that is, not near the street. Because I don't know, people that don't know a lot of Bellingham history have no idea what that building is, they probably don't know what it is.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we were talking about on that. If you guys agree, we'll just keep it on the burner, the back burner, and then we can come back to it. Yeah, we can come back to it at a later date.
Revisit.
Revisit. Thank you, Pam.
Revisit.
When we talk with Dennis on Wednesday, maybe we can ask if there's any timelines that he knows about how the construction is going to go. Maybe he'll have some idea of timelines.
Well, I'm sure that at this point they must have plans drawn,
Right.
and maybe we can get a look at the plans,
Right.
and so we will know how wide it's going to be, and how much land they're taking in front of the neat little park that they just built there, and the old town hall, and the Domino's property. Dennis made, I don't know how serious he was about this, but when they first announced that the town had bought the property and we're going to tear down the Domino's, and I said, oh great, that would make some more parkland in the center of town. We need parkland. And he says, or parking. We really need parking. And I says, Dennis, you can't be just pulling my leg. What do you mean, more parking? And we want more parking and more cars there? I don't think so. I'm not sure he was kidding me or not. But, it's like, hello, it's clearly it's clearly, what it needs up there is to extend that park over to the Domino's area. And it's just, let them park behind the town hall. There's plenty of parking down there in that hole.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, they're gonna put a road right through there and new houses
Yeah, what's
and
going
everything,
along
but-
is going beside it.
Yeah,
It's
gonna-
going up Mill Street, and they're going to hook a right, and then it's going to come out through the current driveway going into the municipal building.
Yep.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
Now, let's take a look. Can we see the plans, please? Do we have any objections to what the state's going to do with that? Because that's state property, I guess. I don't know. I kind of don't like the way it was done, in the sense that nobody knew what was happening, and all of a sudden, wow. So maybe a lot of people knew about it, and I just didn't. So I spend too much time on the Cape, maybe. I don't know.
We can ask if we know what the next steps are and see if, you know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yep.
Dennis and I get along pretty well, so maybe I'll bug his ear.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Update on programs you got on here, Bernadette.
Yeah.
We can.
So Rick, why don't you talk about the program we did for the senior center on the 7th?
Oh, yes. On the 7th, we got together, and what was it called? I mean,
A potpourri of Bellingham history. I made that name up.
Yeah, potpourri of Bellingham history was put together by Terry at the senior center, and to have us basically, I think it was basically just introducing ourselves to the seniors, the historical commission, and talk about different things. And we each had, like myself, I talked about the fire truck, the first fire truck, and having the first fire chief Dyer, in line of duty on that truck and everything. So I discussed that, and then Steve had a really interesting presentation. And we, we're talking, we get into talking about the neutral, what are the French?
Yeah, it was the French neutrals who lived in Bellingham.
The French neutrals.
It was a good teaser for his program on the 20th. I think we got a couple people that registered after we did it too. So yeah, it was a good introduction to it.
Bernadette did a little talk on the book that Pam and Bernadette put together on the history then and now. Yeah. And I thought it was very successful. I mean, there weren't many, but
we didn't have a great crowd, but it was interesting. And I think it was a good first step into this kind of a new thing. Margaret, you attended, right?
I was there, and a few of my friends also were there, but 2 people have commented to me about how interesting it was, that they really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Do you think, regarding the one on the 20th, that Bernadette, since you were the one who runs the Zoom account, do you think you could send the link for that, to the ticket holders and myself sometime soon? It's a week from tonight.
Yeah, I think I have it set up to go out 3 days before normally, but I'll check. And if you want me to send it sooner, I can.
I don't know.
I mean, I can send it to you whenever you want it. But I think our reservation system has it automated where you set it automatically sends out the reminder so many days before. And our experience at the library, you send it out too soon, it gets lost in people's email boxes, and then they're bugging you the day of the event for where is the link. So sometimes it's better to wait till closer to the date to send it to the attendees. But I can send them a reminder saying that the link will be coming with, I'll look at that tomorrow.
I'll rely on your experience.
Okay.
I did notice there were a lot of people who, and I think I've done this myself with Facebook events. Like, I'll click that I'm interested.
Yeah.
But I don't notice that you have to register with a ticket. So I don't know how to.
Yeah. So there's a couple things we can do. One is we can make a comment on those interested people. Make sure you click the link to register and provide the link. The other thing is you could choose to just put the Zoom link right up on the Facebook event, like the day of or something, so people could go there and find it. But the there's a limit of 100 people in a Zoom session. So if it gets shared far and wide, you could have people that didn't register get in because someone who registered got in before them, you know? So it makes it harder to manage. What I've done on library events is I posted, hey, if you pressed you're interested, but you didn't register and you want to attend, make sure you register. Click the link to register. And that's probably something to do a few days before.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And then maybe post that, or you or I, if I have it, post the link you mentioned on the event page.
When this is going on, I'm going to ask.
Shortly before it.
I have a meeting at 7 that's going to use up all my power.
So you could place the link on the Zoom page. You
So
mean?
I can click out.
I can, Bob, I can mute you if you need me to mute you for a second.
Say again, please.
I can mute you so we can't hear you if you need me to do that, if you need to step out for a second.
No, actually, what's going on here is that my wife has a meeting at 7 and it's a Zoom meeting.
Okay, well,
And I'm using her computer, so I'm going to bail out.
okay, we're almost at the end, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk again.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you all.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you, Rich.
Take care,
Yeah,
Bob.
thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Steve.
So Steve, you and I will talk about how to get as many people to participate as possible for that,
That's fine.
as we can.
Regarding programs, just some ideas for stuff in the future. I do have one, and I don't know if this fits good with what we want to put out there. But I had done one for the 125th anniversary of St. Brendan's Church, and the entire first part of the talk was a history of Catholics in Bellingham. And you know, Bellingham was decidedly un-Catholic in its at the beginning, but then it in the late 18th century and early 19th. The late 19th and early 20th century, it was completely overrun by Catholics.
Yeah, I think I think anything we can do,
Yeah.
and I think even the thing that we did for the senior center, I was thinking that maybe we could replicate that for the general public. That way, we promoted it on ourselves. I could update the PowerPoint, and we could just try running that one more time and make it our event instead of the senior center's event.
Sure.
Because we already have that done. You know, it's a done thing, and we could, you, Rick, and I can talk about a date to just run that in maybe in August sometime.
Bernadette, that's probably a good idea because July 7th is like the peak of vacation time.
Yeah.
So probably a lot of people would have wanted to do that, but they just weren't available.
Right. Yeah. And that was at the time was 4:30, which was the senior center selected the time. So I don't know if the time was great, but yeah, I think if we can talk about maybe an August date to redo that, because it was really just, I mean, the presentation is done. It's just us spending the time, and it kind of was an off the cuff discussion. It wasn't really super, intensive to plan it. So I'll drop an email to the three of us and we can coordinate a date to run that again in August.
And actually, I would love at some point, I haven't written anything yet, it would take me months to do it, to do one on John Albee. I loved that guy's book, Confessions of Boyhood. I don't know if you guys have read it, but it describes Bellingham, from a 9-year-old boy's perspective in 1844. I mean, it was excellent. He talks about the hills of Menden, which of course don't exist. He was seeing further west, but that's what it looked like to him. Anyway.
What's the title of it? Confessions of what?
Confessions of Boyhood.
Okay.
The library, I know we have one in the history room. I think we have one that circulates too, Pam.
There's a couple in the museum.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's one behind glass, but there's other copies that are just out.
I know we have one in the history room, but I think we might have one that people can check out too.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to read it.
I wonder if actually it might be on archive.org too. It might be
That's where I read it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I think we've talked about the July 7th, what we just did, and the July 20th coming up. The French Neutrals program is coming, and then I'm sure we'll have some future planning. Like Steve was just mentioning about the Catholic one. That'd be interesting too. That you did at St. Brendan's. But does anybody want to?
I think the August meeting, we need to talk about the date.
August 10th at 6 p.m.
Right. I think the library has an event using our Zoom account that night that we've scheduled already. So we might have to look at, I mean, if we did it at 5, I think would be okay. Or if we meet in person, if we're able to meet in person, I won't have to be for that library event. But I have one Zoom account, so I can't be three places at once, unfortunately. So so I guess with the first one is the library. I don't know. So what we want to just do a poll of when people can make it a little bit later and make the meeting flexible.
The 5 p.m. thing works on the 10th, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And it works for me.
Steve, do you have? I mean, and that from what I know, even if we do meet in person, we can still Zoom people in for people that might not be able to be here in person. And I can bring a laptop to a meeting and facilitate that, so that's not a big deal. We could get people to participate in remotely if they choose to. So I'm good at 5 o'clock on the 10th. Our library event starts at 6:30, so I'd probably need to be off by 6:15, which is an hour and 15, which is probably a perfect amount of time. So
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, I should be good. So.
okay, I'll put it at 5 p.m.
5 p.m. August 10th.
10th. Yeah.
August 10th, 5 p.m. Okay, has anybody got anything else they'd like to bring up tonight?
Something that I kind of thought up while we were talking there. I know we have a plaque for Ernie hanging in the museum. I was wondering maybe the potential for getting one for Marcia too. I don't know if that would be a thing that we could do. But
I had a kind of wild idea to honor Marcia. If we repaint and reorganize the museum, make a section of the museum and call it Crook's Corner and name like like a little corner of the museum in her name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wouldn't that be cute?
That's awesome.
I mean, it could have a plaque, but maybe we could pick up some things from the section of town where she lived, or some, I don't know,
Yeah.
some little.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
kind
a
of
good
appropriate
idea.
because there already is a section of town named after her family.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
Okay.
calling it, and maybe that's when if we redo the museum, maybe it is something that we do geographically and we name sections of the building, you know, that we can name something Weathersfield or name something, I don't know, name that.
Yeah.
As far as how we organize the building in the future.
No, I think she should be remembered, you know, and we can figure out the best way to do that.
Okay.
You know.
I
That
don't
would be,
remember where.
maybe that is if we do that, and if we have like after it's reorganized, we have some kind of a little grand opening ceremony. We could invite her family or something, because she still has a sister and a niece. Correct? Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
The one that came down from the Cape.
the Cape that are local. That we could do some kind of like a grand opening kind of thing.
Yeah, I planted a seed to the niece, because she made it very explicit that the Crooks farm is not going to be sold. They're not selling it to a developer. It's going to stay the way it is. And I was saying, yeah, they said there was too much history there, and there was, you know, but she said, nope, they're not going to sell it. So I made a little. I said to the niece on the QT, I said, well, you could always, if you want to keep it the same, you can donate it to the town for historical purposes, historical commission.
Well, look at Daniel's farmstead in Blackstone.
Yep.
That would be awesome.
And like the theft
Marcia
up in Medway.
Marcia had approached the town lawyer about that before she passed.
Oh yeah.
So that was Marcia's wish that it all goes to the town, but with the caveat on it that they could not build houses there. She wanted it used as a nature sanctuary or walking trails or things like that. And it's going to take a lot of time. She did not leave a will, and so it all has to go to probate. So it'll be a long time. But,
I had a discussion with Rick when we talked about this, about the fair house in Medway. You know, that's owned by the town, and they do all kind of events there, and that's a beautiful, it's a beautiful venue.
Exactly.
That kind of a thing would be wonderful.
But that was Marcia's wish And all of the family knows that. And they're all in agreement with carrying through with that, if however it works out. Yeah. They're not going to sell it.
No, she told me that
That's
explicitly.
great.
And I guess they have a few old vehicles too in the barn, she said, in the back. And I said, well, whatever you decide to do, I mean, if, you know, like what Margaret was just saying, that sounds great. It's going to take a little time to get through the courts, but if it does come out that it's going to be, that could be our fair house, you know, sideways, you know, and
that would be
for
great.
people-
Yeah.
for people to go and enjoy the land rather than, you know, like you say, see a street with a bunch of houses put on
A
it.
new subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's good.
Well, that was her wish, and with talking with the family, they're going to go along with that as best they can.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well,
And also,
really-
while I'm talking, you know, and before we all sign off, I just want to say again, probably, that how pleased I am that it's such a coherent committee that you have, and you're all dedicated to working together. And all this with technology and whatever is something that Marcia and I could never pull off, but certainly did want it to happen. So thank you all so much for your dedication to the history of Bellingham. And it's a wonderful thing to remember Marcia that way, because Bellingham, she lived for Bellingham and that museum. So she would be very happy to know that it's thriving, it's alive, and it's moving forward. So thank you all so much.
Thank you for your help and all your research.
You're welcome, and you're doing fine. I don't think you'll see so much of me anymore.
Oh, well, I'm going to still pick your brain because you've got a lot of knowledge sitting there.
Well, not so much. Franco's been on the committee a lot longer than I was. I was only there for 3 years, I think. But Marcia and I got very close. And
He's young. We'll pick his brain till he goes.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. He's got a good memory. Mine is fading fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
God
and I
help
like
you
to-
for picking my jumbled mess of a brain, but sure.
I just want to again welcome Pam to the commission.
Thank you.
I know we're going to have a real good time getting everything together, even though my head may not keep up with all you guys with all your talent, but my body will still be here, but my mind may take a week or two to catch up. But I really appreciate all the effort you guys are doing, because I think Bellingham is going to be the benefactor of everything we do, you know, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Good.
So
That's great.
I'll entertain a motion if everybody's all set.
So moved, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Oh,
Have a good
okay,
one.
it's unanimous.
See you.
Good night.
See you
All right,
soon.
have a good month.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.